Hey everyone, welcome to the Fiction Lab. I am Katrina Schroeder. I am a book coach, an editor, ghostwriter, but also the founder of the Fiction Lab. I've decided to start a YouTube series where we actually interview authors specifically with you, the writer, in mind. I want to make sure that the questions that we're answering, the questions that we're going through, and every little piece that we're digging through is specifically to help you, the writer, improve your craft, right? That's what this is going to be about. I've actually invited Ashley Kim, who just launched her first book, Villain Era Goddess. So check it out. I actually have it right here. Do 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 do. It's really pretty. She did a great job with the cover. I actually coached her through this and edited it. I can speak. I can has words. I work with words for a living, and I'm doing a great job. Um, but so she actually wrote this. It's a nonfiction, and it's wonderful. I'm gonna actually in the interview let her do the elevator pitch. But yeah, so welcome to the interview with Ashley Kim. At the end, she talks about where you can purchase her book, and then I'll also go over some Fiction Lab stuff. So enjoy. Ashley, thanks for joining us here at the Fiction Lab. So excited to have you.
You. I'm excited to be here.
Yay. So, okay, you're actually a member of the Fiction Lab, and you're our oddball because like the Fiction Lab's for sci-fi fantasy writers, and then you've kind of helped me get started, and you came in and like joined the lab with plans to write sci-fi fantasy, but you were in the middle of working on this book, which is a self-help memoir and not sci-fi fantasy.
Yes. Yes. Not sci-fi, not fantasy. Yeah. Nothing like that. Yeah. So I was so lucky in getting to know you while you were launching all of your endeavors. And so I was like able to sneak in there and be part of the group even without starting a fiction piece yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was super lucky. And
Yeah.
I was a good fit from the start. Even though I wasn't submitting fiction pieces, I felt like our group, still was able to connect with a nonfiction book and give me really good feedback.
Well, I think, and this is something I kind of want to touch on later, is that with fiction and nonfiction, a lot of the rules are kind of the same. I know a lot of people might disagree with me, but I think as far as like stories about how people change, it's about transformation. Self-help memoir is 100% about, and especially yours is about transformation. And so there's a lot, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you have had this one-on-one experience. But with some of the webinars and workshops that we've done that have been fantasy or sci-fi or fiction focused, have you been able to take away some stuff from those to apply it to your nonfiction?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And even to the point of with a nonfiction book, you are sharing a personal story. Like it's still a story. You still have to keep people engaged. Nobody wants to read a book that's just like bullet points and facts and, they want to know how were you feeling, what were you wearing, what was the weather? Like they still want to know all of that. So you have to
Yeah.
put that in a nonfiction book to keep them hooked. So yeah, I definitely think that it blended together for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a lot of the show, not tell that
Mhm.
writers hear all the time, but it's helpful across all genres, I think.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so before we dive into more questions, because I was already starting, because I get excited, um, can you give us just the pitch? Give us the elevator
Oh,
pitch. We're
yes.
in an elevator, Ashley, you can hear the music. And somehow the elevator stopped, but it's
Okay.
kept going. You've got 30 seconds to tell me
Okay.
about your book.
Cool. All right, so the elevator stopped, and I'm gonna stand closer and make it really super weird. And I'm gonna get in your
Perfect.
face, and I'm gonna say, I wrote a book that is a survival guide for women. It is the most brutally honest book that I could have written. And basically, I want it to save women. I want to save them from their families, from their church, from their workforce, from society. We're going to save each other. And it's about how to set boundaries and build yourself back up when you're done. And it is for the neurospicy babes who are fine with cursing and maybe a little, paganism, witchcraft as well.
Ooh, I'm gonna step a little bit closer and say that book just sounds like it's for me. Great, thank you. And we're just gonna make it really weird for the next couple seconds until the elevator starts
Right.
back up. So perfect.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good with eye contact. So yeah, we're good.
Awesome. Uh, I've been watching a lot of Severance lately, and there's a ton of
Okay.
just like really close eye-to-eye contact. Uh, so that's I think what I
Mhm.
write just for the next couple weeks is just gonna be a lot of like close eye contact.
Which is actually kind of hard to write, right?
Yeah.
Like to write how an eye changes when someone's emotions change, like how their eyes change too.
Mm,
Those are my
yeah.
favorite parts in books, by the way. So yeah,
Oh,
little
same.
tangent.
Yay. No, here for tangents.
Okay.
Um, okay, so now diving into questions. The first kind of section I want to talk about is specifically around your book's journey and a lot of the inspiration. So what sparked initially like the idea for you to write this book? Was there a specific moment or a specific experience? What kicked it off?
Yeah, so I really had to think about this because my like kind of general answer is my friends would ask me like, well, how did you do things? So we would, just you're talking with girlfriends, you're going out like us, you're bingo and you're 5 drinks in and you're just talking about life. And so I would talk about, I cut a family member out or something like that. And they would ask like, well, how exactly did you do it? Like, what did you say? Like how did they react? What did you do after they react? Like we would, go through all these things together. And, this are like years of conversation. And then I got to a point where, and my husband actually said something where if he said, if you're getting bullied, it's not about if you win against the bully, it's about making the fight so horrible that they never want to mess with you again. And I loved that approach because I kind of felt like that's what I was doing. I was standing up. I was kind of getting knocked down every single time, but I continued to stand up to the point where people didn't want to mess with me again. Um, and so that was kind of the message that I was giving to my friends of like, there's not a good way to do this, that you just have to do it.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was like, I'm going to start writing a book. And then the other thing, like on the flip side as well, is that with my brain and my personality, I will do like amazing things to get me through a hard time and then immediately forget what I just did to get me through that hard time. And so I was like, well, I kind of want to document it for myself as well, because life is a spiral and a journey. And there's going to be another time where I'm knocked on my ass and I'm going to be like, what did I do? Like, I don't remember anything. Because when you're in the moment, you don't always remember what you
Yeah, what
did.
do I do with my
So
hands?
exactly, exactly. So I wanted to write something that I could remember for myself as well. And then I don't know, maybe someday my daughter will read it and she'll use it to get in my face and, tell me everything that I should
Yeah.
fix about myself, which
Oh
I
my
would be happy
gosh.
with.
I feel like okay, so I have read your book. Obviously, you know this, but in case listeners or audience does not, um, but I feel like it would be such an honor for you in the future for your daughter to come back and set some like hardcore boundaries because of what you wrote in your book.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be awesome.
Yes. And side note, she already is.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And I think, yes. And I think that, like, I'm so grateful for it. Every time she calls me out, I'm like, look at you. Like,
Yeah.
damn, I wish I was doing that at 14. Like, that's amazing. So, yeah, she
Yeah.
already is. And I know there's a lot of stuff that will, yeah, she'll call me out again later too. So, I mean, that's just a
Perfect.
generational thing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that is something I've noticed about this like latest generation is they are not afraid to call you out on stuff and I love that. Like at least
Yeah.
in mine and the way I grew up, it's no.
Nope. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. No, you do not do that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Okay, so next question. This your book itself has just a very raw and conversational tone. Have you always wanted to write it this way, or did this style evolve as you wrote along?
Yeah, that is a good question. So, no, I did not always think that I would want to write that way. I knew I wanted to write a book, right? But to write as myself, as like super unprofessional, I just assumed that doesn't happen. And then I started reading, I kind of got out of my little bubble in my culture more, started reading some other books. And these women were writing in their own voice, like they were these books were the most amazing books I had ever read. Like I gobbled them up. I went and listened to their podcast. I went and watched YouTube. Like I did everything. It was like, who are these women? They're amazing. And then that's when I was like, maybe I can do that too. Like I, I'm the first person to say something weird in a conversation. I'm the first one that's gonna drop the F-bomb. Like I'm gonna do all that stuff. And then there are women out there getting published and people are reading their books and they're just like that too. So yeah, I was like, okay, that's my permission. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
it.
Ah, I love that. No, you really do have such a unique voice, and I can't wait to see it carry across into fiction. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Uh, make it happen. Um, and I think that is one thing as I was going through. So, for those of you who don't know, I did a lot of the editing on this and some of the coaching. And I think that I found myself as I was editing along that I think that's probably why we're friends now, is because you gave yourself permission to just be wild and crazy with your book. So then as I'm reading it, I felt like we just became instant friends. But I think too, I don't know, it's relatable because of that raw voice. You know, I found myself
Thank you.
while I was editing, leaving comments, you'll probably remember of me just like shouting at you to get out of my head, or I've had
Yes.
this exact same experience. And
Yep.
no, I think yeah, the conversational tone and the rawness of it lends to that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, and the whole get out of my head thing, that is what I mean, that's part of what I was going for, right? When you talk to women, like, for example, after I had a miscarriage, all these women would come up to me like, I had one too. Like, you go through life, you don't know what anyone's going through. And it's not like it's even our jobs to go, like, hi, my name is Ashley. I had a miscarriage. I went to, like, you don't just start airing shit out just so other people would know it about you. But
Yeah.
women go through a lot of the same things. And so, like, you will read stuff in the book and be like, oh, yeah, I went through that too. And the other thing, that I was finding out too, like as I got older, was I thought everybody had a life like mine. And then I would meet other women and be like, oh, well, wait, what was your childhood like? And so then I started like realize like, okay, like this wasn't normal. And then, I wanted to basically drop that part of myself and move forward
Hmm.
and, move forward, it's normal, quote unquote, being a weird person that I am. And so,
What?
yeah,
Our
with
Ashley?
my, I know this is okay. Well, this is normal. So normal's still weird. But yeah, I wanted that tone in there and I wanted to grab women with stories and wish that more raw tone, because it does trigger something in your heart and your brain when
Hmm.
it connects with you.
Yeah, absolutely. It really does. Yeah, I have already got like a list of people I can't wait to gift this to.
Thank you.
So yeah, no, I love it. Um, okay, so how did you balance like personal storytelling along with a lot of the universal lessons that you've added in here? Because this book is not just made up of here's my experience, but here's some actionable takeaways you can have like for
Yep.
each chapter. So how do you blend those together?
Yeah. So I think, I mean, you almost have to blend them together just because women do have so many similar things that happen throughout their lives. And overall, there is kind of only like a few good ways to deal with some of those things, right? And so, like, the universal lesson is like protect yourself, protect your family, whatever. We all kind of go about it different ways. And so, this is just the way that I did it. But I wanted to share my stories in a way, hopefully, that does not like trigger anybody or, set anyone off. I don't want anyone to feel bad reading the book. Um, but yeah, I did want the universal lesson that kind of goes with the storytelling, to be the way that I did it. Like, here's the imperfect way that I did it.
Yeah.
But I do think that, yeah, you do have to balance it, but you have to do it in a way that doesn't trigger people because no one wants to feel bad in a self-help
Yeah.
book.
Yeah, right. So that actually leads me to my next question, which is, are there any points in your experience as you were writing this, and trying to find, okay, this is like a relevant experience for this topic? Um, were there any points that you struggled to share, like how much to share, or did you push through any like self-doubt or fear as you were trying to, and fear specifically of judgment as you were trying to pick out which stories to share and which not to share and how much to
Yeah.
share?
Yes. So, yep, the entire book. That's exactly what I went through. every single page. When you so this is the part that's kind of a mind mess. I'm trying not to curse too much. I'm only gonna drop four F-bombs during this.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
A mind fuck.
Then we can keep it
Okay.
rated to like only R and it's fine. Actually, I think rated
Okay,
R it's like
cool.
one F-bomb, but
Oh,
it's
it is?
fine.
Okay, dang it. I already did the one. So okay.
Keep going. I don't
So
care.
it's gonna be
I'll
rated R.
bleep it
I'm not
out.
gonna show my boobs. I was gonna plan to do that and make it a little X-rated, but
Yeah, I think with the YouTube settings, I have to pick like made for kids or not for kids. And then there's some
yes.
more settings that I have to do if it's not for kids. So let's like as much as I'd like to go all out, like let's
All
keep the
right, fine.
ladies tucked in.
Fine. Okay. So I already forgot we were talking about. I'm so sorry. I'm
No, my question was around like how much of your personal experience.
oh
Uh,
right.
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, the entire book was me being insecure about all of it and what I was sharing. And so I think the hard part about this and um is also why I'm so proud that I wrote this book is that when you grow up and your experiences are diminished and like, oh, that's not that bad, or you can get over that, or why are you even complaining about that? Things like that. So you go and you put that in a book. Like, I'm going to present this to you as something bad that happened to me, and that was a big deal to me, even though my entire life I was told it wasn't, and that I should have just gotten over it. So like to like put it in the book and like you're gonna put it out there,
Yeah.
that is the mind fuck, right? That is me saying, okay, even though my whole life I was told this wasn't a big deal, I'm going to put it in the book as a big deal and then I'm going
Mm.
to present it to everybody in the world. So I would say the entire book that was like me just arguing with myself of like, no, like if this is my honest truth, then I am going to put this in here, no matter what the feedback was that I received up until this point. And a
Yeah.
part, I think some of that too was, like I said, when you grow up and you start realizing that other people didn't have the same childhoods that you did, that's when, you make a joke and someone else is like, what? Like, what that happened to you? And then you're like, oh, that's not normal. And so like I just kind of held on to those memories of the times when I realized, no, that was a big deal for that to happen. And so yeah,
Mhm.
anyway, that was my entire messy head while I was writing the book.
Yeah, I remember as I was going through editing, just some moments where you would leave comments of like, is this too much? Is this too little? Do I need to add more here? And then I'd ask for a little bit more in some spots. You're like, okay, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, and it's
Um,
hard too because I didn't want to like write name like call people out specifically or put name,
yeah.
like I didn't want there to be so many details that people would know who I was talking about, but at the same time, you do have to have enough details to connect with your reader and to make it an honest, open story, right? And so
Yeah.
yeah, that is like, and you were so helpful with that for me. And the nice thing about it too is like, like knowing once we got kind of our groove together, because I didn't even know what it was like to work with an editor at all
Mhm.
until we started working together. But then once we got in our groove together, then I could be like, okay, no, she's going to tell me like this is too much or this isn't enough or you need to expand on this, and that was helpful for me because as an oversharer in general,
Our
I
Ashley?
do need someone. Yes, exactly. I do need someone to be like, maybe not here, or as someone who is very secretive about the things that are very hurtful, I do need someone to come in and be like, you do need to share more here. So yeah, that was very
Yeah.
helpful for me.
Oh, I'm glad. That's great. Okay, so let's dive into some of the like writing process and structure questions. So the stuff you writers are here for. So did you follow any sort of structured outline or was it pretty like free writing?
I
Were you a
did start an
plotter or a
outline.
pantser?
I plotted this one, believe it or not, which
Ooh.
with fiction, I can't seem to be able to do. No, I did plot this one. And so what I did is I did create an outline. Basically, first, I just created the outline of topics that I wanted to talk about. So, like work, friends, relationships, self esteem, self worth. And then I took every thought that I had about those things and like I made like a little like side note of the story that would go with it. And then I kind of flipped it into a whole new outline that was about like physical, emotional, spiritual, mental. Like I kind of did it. So I kind of kept messing with it
Hmm.
until I got to making it into a journey, which is the journey is how do you know that you're in your villain era? What do you do once you're in there? And then how do you get through it? Kind of a thing. And then after that, I went into my chapter outlines, which was, and I had to write this down because I had to go back and look at my notes, but acknowledge the pain or the problem, explain about the pain or problem, tell a story about me, remove burden and shame, which was my biggest goal of the book is to remove burden and shame, provide a solution, and then have an activity or worksheet or something like that that goes with it, and then end each chapter with an affirmation. So that's kind of the structure that I used for each chapter.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love all the little like coloring pages.
Yes.
It's like,
Yes. Yeah,
yeah.
because like you color it, you put your intent in while you're coloring it, right? And
Yeah. I love that. I wish I could find my favorite one just real quick, but I'm not that efficient, but I know it's at the back. I love the coloring
was
pages.
it finish
Also,
the drink?
it might be
Was it
Finish the
finish the
Drink.
drink?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was because I remember you talking about that one.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
there. Yay.
Also, love the cover. Just gonna show that off for a second, because
Thank you.
oh, come on, camera.
I know. Oh, there. Got it. Yeah.
Close enough. I'll figure out how this camera works one of these days. She says, starting a YouTube channel.
Right.
So
Give yourself a few years. It'll be fine.
yeah, it'll be fine. Oh God, a few years. Everything's great. So um we've kind of talked a little bit about like the tone of it, and it kind of feels like it's a late night conversation with a best friend, which I think is now why we are friends. I love that. Um but how did you kind of craft, and maybe this is just repeating a question that we've kind of already talked about, but feel free to expand on it. But how did you
Yeah.
craft that flow of like, I want this to feel like I'm sitting next to my best friend and we
Yeah.
have a glass of wine and chatting.
Right. Yes. And that is how the introduction of the book, I started that way of like it is like having talking with your girlfriends after 3 glasses of wine. Because if you think about it, there's like no filter. Once you like get into the real discussions with your girlfriends, that's when you're like admitting all kinds of crap to each other. But it's also when you like fully accept each other, it's like, oh no, you're fine. Like I still love you. Like, it's all that support. But it's also when you really trust somebody because somebody says something that you know for a fact they wouldn't have said outside on the sidewalk,
Yeah.
and I wanted the book to have that vibe of like, this is me like telling you how it is. And one of the things that I've been telling people, because I've been getting text messages of like, oh wow, like your tone of voice, I was not expecting this, like it is really raw. And so what I keep telling people is that it's not pretty, but there are no lies.
Yeah.
And when you think about when you're hanging out with your girlfriends and you've had some drinks, you're getting into the drama with each other, that's just how it is. It's not pretty, but there are zero lies. And that's what I wanted
Hmm.
this book to be.
And I love that. It makes it so much more relatable and easy, like great to read through and easier to read through
Yeah.
when it does feel, and it's not just because it's conversational, but it's because it's raw and honest. And it's especially when you're reading memoir self-help, most of the time those don't feel, they should feel raw and honest, but they don't always feel that way. So I think yours
They
is
feel
very
fluffy.
refreshing.
They're
They
like
feel fluffy.
fluffy and like, yeah,
Yes.
and almost like, and we all love each other and the world is wonderful. And then you don't trust a damn thing they say because you're
Yeah.
like, all
So
right,
like,
well, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And I think yours does a really good job of like, here's what's happening. Here's how we can fix it and make things a little bit better for ourselves and go
Yeah,
on
and
out in
here's
the
how I
world.
effed up. Yeah, like I want
Yeah.
people to know, like I effed up. Like here's all the ways I did it too. I'm not saying like, oh, I'm just a victim and all this stuff happened to me. Like, yeah, no, I was out there pulling some shit too. Like,
Yeah.
and I had to call myself out. Like, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Okay, more writing process questions. What was your and okay, editing process, I guess. What was your editing process like? Did anything major change from zero draft to your final print draft?
yeah, yep. So, yeah, I would say a lot changed. So the first time that I received feedback from you, that kind of showed me, like, it kind of gave me an inner editor that I could look at.
Mhm.
And just kind of, edit myself or look through it myself. So that helped a lot. And so the editing process for me anyway is once I got your feedback, I kind of knew like how wild I could get with it and like what I could do myself, if that makes sense. Because my first draft was like me waiting for you to respond. as an
Yeah.
editor, which by the way, anybody listening, one of the reasons why I really loved Katrina is she never silenced my voice or made me generic, but she did
Oh.
step in to be like, maybe not this, or maybe not that, or whatever. And so that is what made me trust you, is that I knew 100% that you somehow found a way to read this unhinged stuff and like help me hone the voice, without losing myself. So anyway, that helped.
Really? Oh,
So
I'm so
once I
glad.
knew kind of yeah, once I knew what you were looking for, that kind of helped me as well, just kind of edit myself. But honestly, what I would do, because I was also using this as therapy, is I would write a draft and put names and put everything in there, like all the crap. And then I would go in and take it out. And then, but that was like my way to like get it out and be like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, like, and then remove that so that I could actually have something that would be presentable. But it was kind of fun to like give myself permission to do it. And then
Yeah.
anyway, and so then once I started working with you more and you would go through the chapters and then joining the fiction lab and just like watching how just the process of a story in general, that allowed me to go back and look at each chapter. And then I kind of rearranged the order in a way that was more of a journey for the reader as well.
Mhm. Yeah. No, I think, and now that you mention it, I think I noticed that now where you added in that like reader as the character journey adventure all the way through. And I'm proud of you. Great job. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that like you as a
Thanks for
non as
watching.
our like weird nonfiction, I'm gonna call you weird, our weird nonfiction person in our little
Yes.
sci-fi fantasy group.
Yes.
So yeah, for everyone out there interested in the fiction lab, you don't have to be just writing sci-fi fantasy or horror. Like we take in all. Everyone's accepted as long as you have a passion for
Yeah.
writing. But a lot of
Yep.
the like webinars and stuff are very geared towards spec fic. Um,
Right.
okay, so
Yeah.
we're gonna jump over and talk a little bit about the publishing and marketing process.
Okay.
So you took a really bold and fun approach for your title, Villain Era Goddess, and then the subtitle Release Fears, Set Boundaries, Build Confidence, Unleash Your Inner Goddess. What went into that decision? How did you decide what you wanted your book title to be?
Yeah. So a few things went into it. Mark just market wise, looking at the market and who I felt like I was speaking to, a lot of women were jokingly using the term villain era already. They're like, oh, I'm in my villain era. I upset these people. They were already using that for setting boundaries.
Mhm.
So just the term villain era, I knew would catch attention for women my age and younger. And also the same for the term goddess. So for the people that I thought would connect with my book, the term goddess was already a term that was kind of starting to float around in the sphere of the interwebs as far as talking about like dark feminine or like, just like honing your inner goddess or even connecting with a goddess if you're into that kind of thing. Um, I personally liked the term goddess because I think if you go back in history and you look at goddesses, they're freaking terrifying. They
Yeah.
are not like these motherly, gentle women. They are like
No.
stab first, ask questions later kind of people. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for. Like,
Yeah.
I want it that dark feminine like feel to it of we're standing here dirty and bloody and we're still winning and we're not looking good while doing it, but we're still winning. And so I wanted that entire feel to go in the book. Um, I did like when I was talking to an agent at the conference that we were at over the summer, I did question my title for like 5 seconds
Oh, I
because of
remember.
yeah, the agent was like, Villain Goddess doesn't mean anything. And she wanted me to change it to cutting the cord or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's a bummer because that's really boring compared
Yeah.
to Villain Goddess. And I guess you know what, it's a generational thing too. Like we're, completely different generations. And I think she just didn't get it. And that's fine. That's not on her. Like
Yeah.
she was not my target audience. But yeah, I think just the term villain and then goddess together. I also think too, like villain and goddess isn't together a lot of times, like when you see them together. And I was
Yeah.
hoping that people would be like, oh, what does she mean by that? And, be a little
Yes.
bit more curious that way.
Well, I think that title too, going back to the pitch of the other title, like cutting the cord, Villa Aragotis kind of tells us right out the gate what the tone of the book is and what the reader can expect from the book. So from the
Okay.
title alone, we kind of have a vibe. Cutting the cord or cut the cord, it's too generic, I think. Like you
Yeah.
could probably find any related topic,
Right. You
on the
know what
shelf.
that title came from? Sorry.
Go for it.
I was telling her about my book and I was talking about cutting people out of the family and setting boundaries. And then she stopped talking about me and my book and she just wanted advice. That's where it came from. She was like, "How did you do it?" And so then I was like, so I was talking about a cord cutting ceremony. And she's like, "Well, how do you do that?" So we turned into like a therapy
Oh, so
session.
you were just giving
And
her,
then,
yeah.
yes. And then she was like, "Well, your book should be titled Cutting the Cord." And I was like, "No, to me, that's sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh,
That's where
that's
all that
so
came from. I forgot
interesting.
that.
That's how you know your topic works. When you're in a pitch
Yes.
with an agent and the agent is asking you for advice.
Oh, I
Uh,
forgot about that.
Brilliant.
Sorry.
No, I love that. Um, okay, so what was the most surprising part about the publishing process?
Mhm. Probably it's hard, but I think the most surprising part was that I don't need anyone's permission. Like,
Yeah.
I can just go publish this book. Nobody is stopping me at all. To me, that was the surprising part. And I think that's just like, that's just how it is nowadays. Back in the day, you did need an agent. You needed somebody who was going to back you. And I didn't need that anymore. And between trusting myself, trusting my editor, I was able to put together a book and publish it on my own. Um, I had a lot to learn. Like there were times I was almost in tears where I was like, oh my gosh, like I just had to figure out this one thing and I can't figure it out and it would take research and more time. But
Snapchats.
I did it. Yeah, exactly. Lots of
Late night
Snapchats.
Snapchat. Yeah.
Lots of Snapchats. Long Snapchats. But yeah,
Mhm.
I got through it. But I think, yeah, for me, as a woman who like the whole goal is to not wait for permission for anything and to just move forward, that was like, yeah,
The
I can
title
freaking
of
do
your
this.
book? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah.
Love that. Okay, so what about you do marketing? You're a marketer. How are you marketing this book and what strategies have worked so far? I'm also curious to see what strategies you thought would work and then just like flopped.
Yeah. So that's a great question. And it's been very interesting. So I'm just getting started with it. I just now have like the good copies in my hands that I can start handing out to people. So what has worked the most is talking about my book online indirectly. So for example, I had posted it was pictures of other books. And I was like, here's who inspired the tone of voice on my book. That one, I got messages, I got text messages, I got people saying they're going to buy the book from
Wow.
that. The posts that I had with like testimonials and like crickets, and people would
Interesting.
like it, but
Yeah.
nobody was like reaching out and talking to me about it because of it. So I thought that was super interesting. It was almost like that indirect approach worked better, but I think that's because it was more real and people were like, she put a lot of time into this,
Yeah. Well, it's showing a little bit of light into your brain in the process, and
yeah,
people are interested in that, even if they're not writers. Their
right.
readers and are interested in how somebody wrote a book, and
Yep.
knowing what other books inspired that. I can imagine that at least if I were like looking through TikTok, that would catch my eye more so than, a testimonial post, which I would just keep scrolling through anyway.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so
Yeah. So
yeah.
I thought that and even like if I was posting about like I had like a home protection spell thing that I posted, things like that, then that would get people chatting with me and then like, oh, thank you so much. I'm gonna go buy your book now. And so it was like, I don't know, kind of like proving myself in different areas. And then they're like, okay, you proved it. I'm gonna go buy it. And
That's
yeah,
great.
I don't know, it's been very interesting to see what grabs someone's attention and makes them trust me enough to buy my book. And I
Yeah.
did know going into it, like people buy because of the author. Like the topic definitely helps. But if you look at surveys and you look at buying behavior in general, when people
Mhm.
are connecting with the author, they are more likely to buy the book. And we know that. And so it's interesting how you connect with people and like, or what they're looking for as far as a connection. So that, yeah, that was like, took me by surprise. So now I'm just like,
Yeah.
well, heck, what else do you guys want to know?
Here's another. Um, so okay, so, and feel free to share or not share this. It's okay to be like, Katrina, let's move on to the next question. But how, since you've launched, are sales surprising or about what you expected, or how are sales going?
Yeah, so I would say it's surprising. Honestly, I figured that like my mom would buy it and maybe like my sister.
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, my husband will feel bad for me and then he'll go buy one. So I was like thinking three sales. And no, oh, what am I at? I think I'm over 50.
50
How many weeks have
sales?
how many weeks have I been out?
Your
It's been
ebook has been
2.
out for a while, but your physical
Yeah.
copy has been
Yeah.
out.
Nobody bought the ebook, by the way, that I know.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Well,
because
I
the
think,
ebook went out first.
yeah, but I don't think you started pushing it really at all until after the
Yeah.
paperback came out,
Yes.
which, yeah, was about 2 weeks ago. So 50 sales in the last 2 weeks. That's
Yes.
pretty
Yeah.
great.
So, yep, I was surprised by that with barely any promotions. Like I was just posting on my personal and then I've been just posting on TikTok and my Substack newsletter, but I haven't been out like to stores yet. Because I
Mhm.
was waiting to get my physical copies so that I could go into the store and be like, look, I have a book.
Yeah.
So I haven't even done that part yet. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. Obviously, I'm at the point where at the very beginning, so I think it has like some of the buyers are just to be like, "Oh, how unhinged is this?" Because I know Ashley and I don't know what she would even have to say about this topic, which fine, buy it, I don't care.
Yeah.
Leave me a
You're,
one-star review. I don't care. Just go
yeah,
buy it. Interact with me.
exactly.
Yeah. So I think like we have to get past that hump then to see kind of where I'm at. Like the people who would watch a train wreck, like those guys bought it, and that's great. Thank you for supporting me. So we'll see like how it goes after that with the people who are actually like interested in the topic and things like that.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so let's move on to some writing advice. What
Okay.
is one piece of advice that you would give to writers who want to write unapologetically?
Yes. Okay, so I had to think about this, and I have a cheesy one-liner, and that is to write like no one is reading, kind of like the dance like no one is watching, right?
Yeah,
Like nobody's reading. That is what
that's a
helps me.
sticker.
Yes. That that helped me. So at the end of the day, I knew that it was just between me and Katrina, and that is it. And I didn't worry about anybody else. I didn't think about anybody else because as soon as I did, I would really start to change my voice. I would make myself smaller. I would make the points a little more generic, things like that. And so I literally kept it between me and Katrina. Katrina's feedback, your feedback, was always helped guide me and like mold me, but it never muted anything in me, which is what I'm so grateful for because as I've met other editors and even other authors who've talked about editors, that is rare. And so for me to connect with somebody who was like exactly the person I needed to do this book, I'm like so grateful for. So yay, yes.
Yay.
But yeah, I had to write like it was just me and Katrina, and that was it. Like that was it. And then I got to the point where I was like, okay, now I can start like letting my sister read a little bit or letting my best friend read a little bit. And
Mhm.
still that was still it. And then of course like our writers group would read it, but I didn't think about anybody else. Like I just
Yeah.
couldn't, or it would not have
Us
been villain era goddess. It would have been like, you can do this.
cutting the
Yay. And
cord.
that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. It'd be just
So
one page of me giving a thumbs up.
yeah. Now that it's out there for the world to read, how's that feel?
Scary as hell.
Yeah.
So freaking scary. And I've told you this already that I've been getting text messages that are like, oh my gosh, like your writing voice is so raw or, so real or whatever. And I sent it to you and I was like, does this mean I suck? Like, what does this mean?
It does not
Because to
mean you
me,
suck. I hope that somebody says that about my writing so bad.
yeah, so it's been scary. And I probably am one of your more high maintenance clients, I'm sure, but to like keep
Not gonna
checking in
say.
with you, like, should I feel bad about this? Will you look at this, please? So yeah, it's been very scary. That said, I am so proud of myself because my friends will send me screenshots of text messages from other people I don't even know. And they're like, hey, I
Wow,
bought your friend Ashley's book. This is so good. I'm halfway through it. Like just stuff like that. And so I'm like, oh, okay, good. Like
that's
I'm,
amazing.
yeah, like it is helping.
Oh, that's great. I love hearing that when it's just like you're hearing from people that you have no connection with.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yes.
cool.
Yeah. And I
Um,
love it. And they don't like if it sucked, they wouldn't have reached out and said anything to my,
yeah,
like nothing. Like, so yeah, it made
absolutely.
me feel good.
Uh-huh, that's great. Okay, so any lessons you learned the hard way while writing or publishing so that other writers out there aren't having to reinvent the wheel every time?
Yes, there is. Okay, hold on. Let me look at my notes for this one because I did not want to forget my answer. Okay. So I put down here that I heard a lot about writer's block and imposter syndrome, but not so much the what if everyone hates me because they hate my book syndrome, which is what I had and continue to have from time to time. So for me, my biggest advice or the biggest thing that I learned the hard way is that all of my everyday insecurities will show up 500% times bigger writing a book. And I think anyone who does anything in the arts in general, because
Yeah.
you are like cutting yourself open and putting it out there on display. Like, these are all my insides. I hope you guys like them. And it's literally up to everyone else on if they like it or not. It has nothing to do with you. And so to do that, like, um, really kind of mess with me. Um, and it was a process of being patient with myself and like kind of recentering myself over and over and over and over and over and over. And then not judging myself for that. So I had
Yeah.
to be like, you know what, that's okay. Keep recentering yourself. That's okay. Send Katrina another Snapchat.
Yeah. I know, I
She'll
enjoy the
tell you when to
Snapchats.
stop.
Yeah, I'll just
Yeah.
completely ignore them for a couple days.
Take a
But
break.
honestly, I like them. They keep me on my toes. Also, they're an efficient way to share information when you need to.
Yes.
Like
Yeah,
when
they
you could
are.
like pull up a Snapchat, like you're Snapchatting an issue with the formatting that we're running into, and you're like, what do I do with
Yeah.
this? What's happening? And then you could just send that to me,
Yes.
and then I could go in and take a look, and oh, it's so
Yeah.
easy.
Made
Thanks,
it so
Snapchat,
much
for
easier.
saving this book. Uh,
I want to be
okay,
like sponsored by Snapchat.
yeah. Uh, um, okay, so what is next? Are you working on any sci-fi fantasy or
Mhm.
another like nonfiction, and you're still going to be our nonfiction weirdo in the lab?
Yes. So yeah, my goal is to always be a weirdo. But
Perfect.
I am working on fiction slowly because I'm learning, if that makes sense. So yeah, but I'm still working on my Golden Girls meets Witch Coven
I love it
book
so
together.
much.
Yes. So I'm working on that very slowly on the side. I do have another nonfiction that I'm working on, which right now is titled Metamorphosis Surviving Sludge Mode. I do feel like right now in the world, um, everyone goes through ups and downs, right? And like, but I feel like lately the downs are like for a long time, or there's a lot more downs. And it's like you literally have to figure out how to survive that without like losing who you are. So I thought I would do like just a very quick, like short ebook on that one.
Mhm.
Um, I'm doing 365 days of Oracle and tarot card spreads for the Anxious Witch.
Love that.
And I am turning, so in the book, I talk about a glow and grow routine and like yes the morning and evening things that you can do. So I am putting together a journal that has all of that stuff in there as a reminder, but then we'll also have like new moon, full moon rituals, like things like that, and a craft for every month because I really do believe that being creative is what saves us as people. So
Yeah.
I want to put something like that in there. And then yeah, working on fiction, writing fiction, learning how to write fiction, like just gobbling up everything that Katrina says and just being part of the reviews that we do with the other authors so that I can learn from that.
Yay.
It's fun. Like everyone should do this. Everyone should do this. Like join a writing group and just start writing something. It's not going to be good, but it is fun.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think everyone should do it.
Yeah.
Join the fiction lab if you're cool.
If you're cool. If
Hell
you're not
no.
cool, then we don't want you. Um, actually, so going back to like your glow and glow, your I
I
can
know it's
words.
hard.
I
You can
can have
tell the
words.
double G's.
The double G's. The glow and grow. Unique New York. So the Glow and Grow journal. Um, so you sent me, I got it to like conveniently today, my beautiful copy of the book with which you signed for me, and I love that. It also came with some other cool goodies, but it also came with tea that is mentioned in the book in chapter
Yes.
16 for March.
Yep. Yes.
And that's what I've been drinking this whole time, and it is delicious, by the way.
Hey, good.
So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes. You're
I love it.
welcome. Yeah, it's
I
green tea, mint, fennel, and ginger. Super simple.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it because this is delicious. I'm not normally like green tea, I only want during the summertime, and sometimes, usually if I'm
Yeah.
coming to tea, I need like caffeine and I need it to be black tea, like, or
Yeah.
it's gonna be some like spicy decaf tea and herbal tea in the evening. And no, this is
Yeah.
so refreshing. I love it.
Yay. Yeah. So usually I um replace the green tea with oolong tea, which is basically green tea. I think it tastes better. It's not as oily. But I was out of my oolong, so we got the green.
Perfect. No, this is great. Okay. Whoa. Calm down, Katrina. I got excited because we're gonna do a lightning round of questions. I should eventually come up with some like cool name for this, but we're gonna do quick questions.
Okay.
First one, coffee, tea, or wine while writing?
Yes. Okay. So I would start with wine and my favorite. So I do a
And
mixture. Yes, I do a mixture of a red cab, sangria, and a little bit of orange juice, and I call it a sangria sunrise.
ooh,
That is like
okay.
my drink. I quickly gain weight very quickly when I drink this. So I will do that, and then I'll like take a break from wine for a while and go back to my lemon water. But yes, I prefer wine over anything always,
You're
basically.
like, what instead of coffee? Sorry guys, this is wine. This is how I start my day. You're coming to our live writing sprints at 11 a.m. with your sangria sunrise. Actually, please do that one day.
But if it's in a coffee cup, no one knows.
No, but put it so that everyone knows. I want to see,
All
or
right,
put it in
like
a fancy Fiction Lab mug that I just made.
nice. Yeah. I could
Um,
do like the little umbrella hanging off the side. And you
yes,
would know.
perfect. Okay, I know this. I said lightning round, and then went off on a tangent on one
Oh yeah.
question.
Yep.
So
That's gonna happen. Yeah.
here's the next one. Favorite writing spot?
My dining room table, it overlooks the backyard and I get to see all the creatures and in the
Aw.
summertime and spring all my plants. So yeah, I just enjoy the view.
And while you watch the sangria sunrise.
Exactly.
Perfect. Okay,
And
song that
sunset.
yeah, beautiful. All right, what about song that embodies Villainera Goddess?
Yes, so I chose The Wolf by Phil Dell with Phildel. She is an artist who was raised in a very weird religious household, wasn't allowed to play music. She was told every day that she was like a bad person because she was a woman, very effed up background. And then she became an artist. Like she had to sneak in playing piano and instruments. And she wrote
Wow.
a song that basically is like you told me I'm evil and I'm going to hell and I'm the wolf, but really it's you. So I'll see you in hell. Bye bye. It's a great song.
That's really cool. I'm gonna listen to it later.
Yeah, it's a good
Really
song.
great. Okay, last lightning round question. If this book had a tagline that was on a neon sign, what would it say?
Mhm. It would say, "We are playing Build a Bitch. Come play with us."
I need that now. That's so good. I love that. Beautiful. Well, thanks for joining us here at the Fiction Lab. And I can't wait to read more of your stuff. I'm still waiting more on the Gilmore Girls, not Gilmore Girls, Golden Girls,
Golden Girls, yes.
tomato, tomato. And for that little submission for critique group. So again, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'd like to read
I
more
know.
of that.
I know. It's like 80% there having my second chapter done. So
Ah, sweet. Great.
yes.
Cool. Well,
Yes.
thanks for joining us. Thank you so much. This was
Yes, thank
awesome.
you. Yeah, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. And yeah, I love you. And people should use
Oh,
you. So anyone watching this, you definitely want to be part of Katrina's group and you want her as an editor for sure.
well, thank you. I love you too. Actually, so quick thing, didn't even think about it, and I should have wrote it in my notes. I probably did somewhere and lost it. But where can people find you and where can they find your book? Although it looks like they can order today on Amazon.
Yes. Oh, I need to change that because you should actually order on Barnes& and Noble website because it's a much better,
It's
prettier
so
version.
much better.
Yeah, the cover feels like leathery butter somehow. Like,
It
yeah, it's
does.
so much better. Yeah.
I just want to
So I
like,
need to change that.
yeah,
You can lick it too if you want to get weird.
I kind of
Um,
do, but I won't do it on camera. Or maybe I will
oh,
do
that's
it
too
on camera.
people might pay for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a whole other
Need the extra cash?
video. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, just go to villainaragoddess.com and that will take you to my Substack account there. And so there's links to buy. You can join my newsletter if you want to. If you want even more unhinged stuff, that's a great way to get it. And
Nice.
yeah, if you just Google Villanera Goddess book, like it all comes up. I check multiple times a day. It does come.
Good. Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you. Thanks everyone for joining us. Comment, like, punch that subscribe button, bros. And yeah. Thanks for coming, Ashley. This was the best.
Yes, thank you.
And there you have it. Wonderful interview. We did a great job. Mostly me, but also Ashley. So, yeah, if you're interested in the Fiction Lab, please check us out at thefictionlab.com. We do webinars, workshops, D&D style workshops for character development, which is really fun. Live writing sessions every day, book club, movie club, like there's so much stuff in there. And I would love to see you there. But keep an eye on this YouTube channel as well because I will be posting tips, tricks, and more interviews. I think I'm also going to launch this as like a little podcast thing. So you may find some of this also in the podcast sphere. Thanks. Bye, everyone.